You're listening to the Tony and Josh Show.
Hey guys, we're getting a late start tonight. Had a bit of a problem getting to YouTube live events, and I've had to teach myself how to how to do it manually. So that was about close to an hour worth of learning. Josh is already with us, obviously, since we should have started about 36 minutes ago.
Well, you know what happens. Technical difficulties when you're dealing with, state-of-the-art type of broadcasting venues that we are. And things are bound to happen sooner or later, every now and again.
Yeah, but I mean, how many shows have we done with live events? And it's, been just fine. And you go to get the file and serve it up, and the thing goes, okay, let's go. And it doesn't connect because it's not pointing to the right place. Hey, you're not watching the show, are you?
Yeah, I just popped on to make sure that we had something going through YouTube.
Yeah, I noticed on the preview it was working. I just didn't. I was getting ready to check the live stream. I see that there's one person watching. Can you can tell if it's looks okay? And I guess I'll take the banner down so you can actually see some movement and stuff. Go to get the file and.
Yeah, it seems we got audio at least.
Yeah, I just took down the banner. You should see some video here in just next 10 or 12 minutes. I don't know how long a delay there is. Hairline is really going up there.
Mine? Yeah, no.
No, I was talking about mine. See any video yet?
Oh, there it goes. Just now popped up. Man, that's probably a good 30-second delay or something like that.
Moving around, looking normal? Or, you know, as near as can be expected.
Yeah, cool. So we're there. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and log off of that.
So this is the pre-show fun that you may want to come and join. We usually start broadcasting the show about 15 minutes prior to takeoff, about 9:45 Central Time, Thursday nights. So you'll be seeing this on the YouTube video on our YouTube channel, which we're actually using our XJ Talk account because we have enough subscribers and stuff to be able to use live stream, but maybe here in future episodes we'll be poking you guys to go and subscribe to the Tony and Josh YouTube channel so that we can have it in its own little place.
Yeah, one of these days. So, Tony, I noticed the show notes are a little bare. Are we winging it tonight? Do you have anything?
No, I really don't, because I was hoping to get this thing up and running at 9:45 and then go and grab some of the stuff I was looking at on other screens, but I didn't.
Well, I think I've got enough to carry us tonight. I've got 3 pretty good stories here. Let me just move some stuff around.
That's what she said.
I think this story I'm just going to completely cut and paste here.
Oh, wow. Broadcast alerts. They have one thing on here. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please try again later. The broadcaster has rescheduled the event. All these great things to know before we started broadcasting.
Are these coming in right now?
No, these are things that you can set up on the stream. So you can actually, I guess, whenever they go to connect to that, the URL or they're looking at it on the main page, instead of showing that the show is going to start at a certain time, because, it has a clock countdown for the show. Instead of it showing that, I would assume that it'd have one of these broadcast alerts. So it kind of allows you to inform people quickly. I'm guessing. Yeah, it was telling me, it basically says that some buffering can occur if these settings that I can't find aren't set the way they want them.
Well, how much of that do you really mess with every week?
None. That's what I was saying. I had to learn it tonight. I went to the watch page and it says, "Please stand by." Okay, I just tried opening up again, and now I see it. So in case you're wondering, we've had some technical difficulties tonight. As you may have seen, Josh put that up in the comments there on the YouTube Live events page. I had to go through a quick learning session, and Josh is making some changes to the notes so we can get this rode on the show. Please use a keyframe frequency of 2 seconds or less.
Let's see here, and okay, Tony, I am basically ready.
Okay, just all right. Well, let me.
You got voicemails queued up in the bank?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I got them separate so we can do the. Yeah, we'll do them. Here and there.
All right.
I'm here to help you, just let me by your side.
Yeah, it looks like audio levels are fine.
Very good.
Okay, so
Warning. The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and temper tantrums expressed or otherwise conveyed on the Tony and Josh show may not and mostly is not suitable for all audiences and therefore should not be heard by anyone unless supervised by an appropriate nanny state. Enjoy. Warning. The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and temper tantrums expressed or otherwise conveyed on the Tony and Josh show may not and mostly is not suitable for all audiences and therefore should not be heard by anyone unless supervised by an appropriate nanny state. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Tony and Josh Show. Tony and Josh are the
son of a bitch.
Batting 1,000 tonight, brother.
The music I moved the slider down and the music stopped.
Warning.
Take 37.
The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and...
Sorry.
Warning. The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and temper tantrums expressed or otherwise conveyed on the Tony and Josh show may not and mostly is not suitable for all audiences and therefore should not be heard by anyone unless supervised by an appropriate nanny state. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Tony and Josh Show. Tony and Josh are the functionally illiterates of the podcasting world. Now here they are. Tony and Josh.
Hey, this is Tony.
And this is Josh.
You know us better as Tony and Josh on the Tony and Josh Show.
And you have the Tony and Josh show.
Would that be considered product placement, Josh, to say Tony and Josh that many times?
You know, well, we're certainly not playing commercials, so I think that's about as close as we're going to get.
Well, as some of you may know, if you were sticking with us during the live event, the live broadcast, we've had some severe technical issues tonight, so we're getting started very late, almost an hour late.
Yeah, we're 45 minutes behind schedule on the dot. I know we're usually fashionably late. Well, at least we have been in the past. We're certainly setting the bar awfully high, as it were, for this show.
So if you are lucky enough to have waited it out and watching us live tonight, you might want to leave some comments about the video and audio quality, because we've had to do it manually. Now, you on the podcast should be used to or hearing the same sound quality that you always get from our podcast, because that part of it's working great. It's the video stuff that's been giving us hell tonight.
Oh, they don't need to see our ugly mugs. Well, maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't know why they want. I don't know why they like live events and the video streams. I mean, I've mentioned this before. This one interviewee asked me if I had a great phrase for radio, and I said, of course. That's exactly why I'm doing podcasts.
Exactly why. Yeah. Well, speak for yourself now. But folks, we're glad you guys are here. Glad you guys have found our little corner of the web. Make sure you guys head over to tonyandjosh.com, where you can find out all the important links, including on how to view us live when we do our live shows. Of course, normally they are broadcasting on time, but we also have lots of other pertinent information over there and lots of other cool stuff you guys can go check out. Head over to tonyandjosh.com right now.
Yeah, actually, we've been doing really good about starting on time. I figured that it's important for people to know when the show's going to be on and when it's going to start, when it's going to be over. So I've been trying to crack the whip, so to speak, and start at 10 p.m. Central Time on Thursdays. But we do the best we can do. Josh, you need a mute button.
Yeah, sorry. Took a little swig of water and it went down the wrong pipe.
Oh no! Well, look, you recover, and I'll grab it here for a minute. So anyway, we have we'd like to try to do a show refresh just in case you're a new listener, and well, perhaps you've listened before but you dozed off and you don't really remember what the show's about. So basically, the premise here is that Josh and I have another podcast that we've been doing for a while, and we talk about Jeeps and off-road and four-wheel drive type things, but anything else outside of the Jeep world, and we've been slapped before if we go off the rails on that show about talking about things that are not Jeep related. So we thought it would be kind of fun to have an opinion show where we could talk about anything under the sun. So we did, and we've been talking about a lot about politics here for the past 20 or so shows. And we're going to try to curve away from that and curve away from the gun control, even though we're both very passionate on those subjects. But so Josh is back with us now.
Yes, I am. Yes. Sorry about that. It was something completely unexpected. It's not
How unprofessional of you to be drinking on the job.
Yeah, no, it's just water, folks. Just water. But it ended up in a place where it shouldn't have. You don't normally breathe water. And well,
yeah, you were doing your Aquaman impression.
Yeah, or something. I was doing my dying man impression there.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it whenever something goes down the wrong pipe, the windpipe, and your body reacts violently. It does not like it.
Well, and it's certainly at the most inopportune time as well, right at the beginning of the show. It's not really when you want to have it happen.
See, this is payback for your comment about we're batting 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. See, there we go. Yeah.
Can't make this stuff up. Now,
Tony some grief earlier about some issues with the show we were having, getting it started up and going, and well, the audio board wasn't acting the way it should, and I was giving him some grief for it, and that's what I get, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're just here to express our opinions. We'll find some interesting stories that we'll tell you about. Hopefully you'll find them interesting, and hopefully you'll become a weekly, lifelong listener.
Absolutely. We got a pretty decent show for you guys lined up tonight. Definitely got some stories that'll make you scratch your head and make you, say, wow, geez, did he just really say that? Got some very interesting stuff in the news we're going to share with you guys. Got a couple funny stories I want to share with you guys as well. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our voicemails, Tony. We have a 24/7 voicemail line call that you guys can call. It is 24/7, means nobody's going to answer that phone ever. You guys can leave a message about whatever you like, whether it be feedback for the show, whether it be an idea for a topic you'd like for us to talk about. Maybe you just want to give us your 2 cents about, well, what we're talking about or how the show's going. Feel free to talk about anything. And, well, don't worry about keeping it clean. We can take care of that stuff. And we should have a few voicemails we're going to play for you guys throughout the night, and I think we've got one queued up right now.
Hey, this is Nikki G. I just got a observation, I guess you could say. But before I get to that, I just want to let everybody know that last week, everybody knows, Wendy called and interrupted my call to inform me that Smitty the cat was sick and banned from all carpeted areas. Well, I'm happy to say that Smitty has made a full recovery, and he is back to his sloth-like state of sleeping 18 hours. And thanks for all the cards and well wishes. Thank you. And now for my observation, I've noticed that you can tell where people are from all over this country from just by how they dress, their mannerisms, and how they speak. Like you tell somebody from California right away as opposed from somebody from like New England area. And I think that holds true to vampires too, because like vampires up in the Northwest, up in Josh's neck of the woods, they're sparkly and melodramatic, as opposed to vampires from New Orleans area. They're kind of blood crazed, uber gay. Vampires. Well, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but as you can tell them apart. I don't think there's vampires in Texas. I think it's the dry heat. But I've got a friend, Charles, from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he was kind of pasty white and lethargic, so I guess that would fall under zombie category. but he didn't really eat brains, but he did crave a lot of fried chicken. So you guys got a lot of weird zombies down there in Texas. In North Carolina, we don't have vampires at all because, as you know, vampires feed by using your teeth, and no one here has a full set of teeth as it is. All right, that's all I got this week. You guys have a good one. I'll chat you later. Bye.
We'll be hearing more from Nikki G throughout the show.
Oh, I can imagine so. Nikki, thanks for the voicemail. Always a pleasure and always entertaining, definitely. And yeah, I don't know about where that sparkly thing comes from up here. Maybe it's because
everything's wet.
Yeah, everything is wet, and dank, and dim, and grim, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, no, it's boy, this week has been no exception, Tony. We got hit with a huge deluge of water. I think record rainfall for the month of September in 140 years. We got, I think, over 6 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. And, I mean, we're used to seeing a lot of moisture up here in the Pacific Northwest, but this was certainly one heck of an early winter storm that we got nailed with this last weekend.
But the temperatures aren't cold up there yet, are they?
No, not entirely. I mean, it never really gets super cold. I mean, cold by probably your standards, sure. I mean, 45 at night and probably, high 50s, low 60s during the day right now. And it's mild in all things considered. Certainly not very cold and definitely not very warm. I'm sure those kind of temperatures would be very welcome to you probably right about now.
Well, I like coats, but I never get to wear them because I'm hot-natured. And it would be very. Let's put it this way: our environment here in Houston is such that you can go from your cool house and get in your cool vehicle and drive to your job and dash on the surface of the sun from your vehicle to the cool job site. And so you can also do that whenever it's cold out, except you really don't have to dash. Because it may be 30 to 30 degrees, if that. So unless the wind is really howling, you really don't need a coat down here because you could just kind of take your nice leisurely stroll into the office building. So
yeah, 45 is pretty average for us, pretty much year round.
I mean, that would get cold if you were out in it for a while, especially if there was any kind of breeze. So you definitely would need some sort of jacket or windbreaker, but I try not to go outside. It's wet and hot and bugs out there.
Well, the other thing you might need is a full body of hair. And what does a big hairy man make you conjure up images of? I know, Bigfoot.
Yes,
and Bigfoot has actually made a big stink in the news this last week or so. First, a crack team of vets and scientists regurgitated a press release claiming that they had DNA evidence of Bigfoot's existence. Now, I mean, we've got reality TV shows now of hunting Squatch or Sasquatch hunters, or I don't. It's so stupid I don't even watch it. But we've got places like UFO places that all they do are Bigfoot sighting. It's a Bigfoot store. You can buy the porcelain imprints, and you can buy a little lock of Sasquatch hair and all that sort of stuff. But I guess the evidence that was released in this DNA evidence, supposedly, that was released in this press release here, has been completely debunked. The evidence was and likely is still bogus, according to several sources. Now, a couple days ago, some new photos rose up, but there's a question of whether or not these pics are even real. I mean, after all, this is the month of October. This is the month of Halloween. Of course, just about every store and corner mart has got something Halloween related, including costumes out nowadays. So apparently, there was a Pennsylvania hiker named John Stoneman. Now, he says he was driving his car through Kinzua State Park. Yes, exactly. When he noticed not one, but two hulking creatures lurking around in the woods. He slowed down, took some photographs, which do indeed appear to show at least one giant ape-like creature behind some trees. Now, he told the HNGN, this is a website of headlines and global news. He said, "I'm a skeptic myself. I'm not a believer, but this was not a bear. and you can see fur on it. It's wider at the shoulders and tapers down, whereas a bear is bigger in the middle and it stands differently with its paws out. This was standing like a man, like a Bigfoot, he says. The 57-year-old guy noted that the black bears in the area are much smaller than the apparent creature that he captured in pictures just 2 weeks ago. The photos haven't been verified yet now, people, but Stoneman says he's never seen anything like this. He's never seen anything like these creatures before in all of his years hiking and being out in the woods. Now, we're going to post up pics or at least links to these pictures where you guys can check this out for yourselves. Now, I've taken a really good close look at these things, and it looks like a cross between, Harry and the Hendersons, the old movie. Here's a timely reference for you, an old movie from the 80s and 90s, and an orangutan. It's got like the big cheeky face like an orangutan might, but then it's definitely very Bigfoot-esque. I say as far as clear photographs go of Bigfoot sightings. These are pretty believable. If this is a hoax, this is probably one of the best ones that the world has ever seen. Now, Squatch sightings are a lot more common on the East Coast than you might think. Now, Josh Stevens, a doctoral candidate at Pennsylvania State University, released a map last month that shows 92 years of Sasquatch sightings. This is pretty interesting, folks. I took a look at this map, and it's crazy that the densely populated wooded areas of the U.S. All have their fair share of Bigfoot sightings, including this rural Pennsylvania, where this last bit of sightings or where these pictures supposedly came from. So I might just keep an eye on this story and find out, whether or not this gets debunked here in the near future. But up here in the Pacific Northwest, folks, we've had our fair share of crazies looking for Bigfoots and big feets. I guess it be a pack of feets. I don't know. But we've had our fair share of this stuff up and around my neck of the woods. So this is definitely something I'll keep an eye out on. And if anything develops of this, I'll be sure to report it here.
Well, let me ask you, Josh, if you were out hunting or just happened to be carrying around your Remington 700-308 rifle with you, as you're known to do, and you happened to cross a creature that was obviously not a person, or if it was a person, they were dressed up in a monkey suit, and you go and you think Bigfoot. I mean, especially if this thing's like 7-8 feet tall, it's probably unlikely that an NBA basketball star is roaming the woods dressed in a gorilla costume. Wouldn't you think to yourself, Bigfoot? And if I guess it really depends if you think there might be some friends around, because you might killing one might make it angry, but wouldn't you lean towards shooting it to actually be the person that proved there was a Bigfoot?
My first instincts would probably be to track it, to get closer. I'd have to see it. I mean, now these pictures, mind you, I know, folks, you guys can't see what I'm talking about when you're listening to this live, at least. If you're following along during the podcast and you check out these pictures for yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about here. But it looks like he's only about maybe 50, 65 yards or so away from where these things are standing when he's taking the pictures. And although the pictures aren't what I would call high def, they're certainly a lot more clear than some of the other pictures that we've seen, over the years of alleged Bigfoot sightings. I would want to get a little bit closer than that, because in these pictures you can't see a lot of detail. Now, I wasn't there, obviously. So maybe he got a good enough picture to, just visually seeing these things. Not actually, through his camera, but got a good sighting of these things where he didn't have to get any closer. I personally wouldn't have chased him down, but I would have tracked him down. I would have gotten closer. I would have sort of stalked him a little bit. And if the opportunity had arisen to maybe wing one of these things, I don't know if I'd kill it. Unless it was started charging me or something like that, but maybe winging one so it couldn't get away as fast, and then track it for a little while and see if I couldn't get a crew of other people out there, because everybody's going to say, oh yeah, I killed a Bigfoot back in Pennsylvania in 2013. I was like, oh, sure you did. Yeah, just like, you saw a UFO last week too, didn't you, Bob?
Well, I guess winging it would be fine as long as you could get some DNA
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. You get a couple bloody leaves to go take into the lab and feel like, here, just analyze this a little bit. And it'll probably come back as, ape DNA or something like that. Who knows? But folks, these are definitely some interesting pictures. And Tony, I've got a couple of these pictures posted up in the show notes. Have you had a chance to check them out yet?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and they look like they are about maybe 50 feet away. And the thing that gets me is, why do these pictures, and UFOs are the same way, well, they're not necessarily trees that are in the way, but they're just out of the visual range where you can say for sure what it is. I mean, it's certainly by definition a UFO is a UFO, but as far as it being an alien spacecraft or maybe something that the U.S. government is test flying, you never can see quite enough detail. The Bigfoot pictures are the same way, and this is no different. And it always bothers me from the standpoint of, if it was, I mean, these pictures certainly are close enough and you can see enough detail in the ghillie suit that this guy is wearing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see enough detail in the hairy body that if this tree wasn't in the way and you could see the face, then you would actually be able to say, oh, well, that's definitely an ape, or that's definitely the missing Elvis, or that's definitely, it's definitely a guy in a man suit. So, but you can't. So here we go again. More stories that you can't confirm.
Now, I threw up just in the last, while you were talking there, a few seconds there, I threw up one other picture, and it shows you kind of a perspective as to how these pictures were taken. You can see a car, a side mirror of a car in the lower right-hand corner of one of the pictures. And so it looks like he literally, it was just spur of the moment sort of thing. Hey, there's something in the woods moving around. And as soon as you get an eye focus on it, realize, hey, that's not just a bear or a deer or something like that. Is that a Sasquatch? You raise up your camera, you take a picture. This guy might not have had time or the means to go tromping through the woods after these things. And who knows, as soon as he got out of his car, maybe these things sprinted off at, record land speed into the thick, dense woods and never to be seen again. I don't know. Again, this all could just be a hoax. I'm leaning towards it probably being a hoax, obviously, but anything is possible, right?
Well, the problem is that there are hunters out there, and I'm sure there's hunters in this area. You would think that people that go out in the woods would see these creatures more often. I hear reports of horrific smells that are associated with these creatures. So,
indeed.
So if nothing else, walking around and go, what the hell is that? That's not a skunk. Oh God, that's horrible. And then, let's get away from that, or let's find some kind of unusual activities in the woods. And that would be a great title for a movie. But you know what I'm saying? It's just,
well, here's what's getting me is that this is roadside. I mean, yeah, these things are just a rock's throw away from the road's edge. And by road, I mean, this could be some backwoods country road, obviously, maybe, country vehicle access only. This probably isn't a very well-traveled road, but nonetheless, this is near civilization enough to where there is a paved road that this guy is driving upon, and these things are near it. And, if these are big feats, then I would say that what are they doing near, this close to, man-made stuff? Every other Sasquatch sighting that I could think of, recall, that I've heard of, seen a documentary of, or whatever, has all been in the deep, deep, deep woods. They're not around roads. They're not around trails. They're not around any sort of signs of civilization. They are miles and miles and miles away from anything that resembles anything man-made. Here, these things are just a stone's throw away from a fully paved road. So it's kind of curious, It's like, that's one thing in the debunking quiver, I guess.
Well, I wonder if there was anything going on environmentally at the time, like maybe there was a drought, a fire, a forest fire. Maybe there was some sort of issue as far as I don't know what these things eat. Certainly if you're that size and you eat vegetation or nuts and berries and stuff, you're going to be eating a lot of them. So you would think that if food or water or shelter were in jeopardy, then that's going to make anybody that's in the woods have to move around and take more risks. So it'd be interesting to know if there's something unusual going on environmentally at the time that this occurred, and that would help, maybe debunk the faking of this. But then again, it could be somebody driving along in a car and say, okay, you guys get out, go over there in the woods, and I'm on a big truck. I'll turn around and come back down the road, and I'll take pictures from the road in the car and like, hey, oh, gee, I just kind of saw that. Of course, the other explanation could be that these things are fairly well camouflaged. I mean, in the woods, so unless you're looking out into the woods, which generally you wouldn't do driving along in a vehicle, depending on the speed, you just wouldn't see them. So, I could go back and forth on this to infinitum, but I just don't know. And I just hate it that the pictures aren't any better. These are good pictures, but it's like, why is that tree in the way? Why are we seeing the one that blocks the face?
Exactly.
Because you'd know it's Joe.
Yeah, I wonder if that was that one branch that's right in the middle, if that wasn't sort of photoshopped into place or something like that, just for that purpose. I don't know. But very interesting nonetheless. And like I said, if anything develops of this, I'll be sure to let you guys know. Well, I've got another story here. Speaking of getting some DNA samples and stuff like that for Big Feet. Now, this isn't exactly Bigfoot, but it is a beetle. Now, we're talking about cloning a beetle exactly here. There's this Dr. Michael Zuck. He's a dentist who bought John Lennon's tooth at an auction 2 years ago. And this guy's hoping to clone the former beetle using his DNA. Okay. It's like, okay, if you insist there, pal. If scientists think that they can clone mammoths, and they obviously can clone sheep, we've seen that done, then John Lennon could be next. Now, Zuck said this in an interview earlier this week. Dr. Zuck from Edmonton, Canada. He made headlines when he bought the ex-Beatles tooth for $30,000 at an auction in 2011. Now, at the time, he said most people would say I was just crazy. Dude, you bought a tooth for $30,000. Yes, you are bat crazy.
Everybody should have a hobby, Josh. It's okay. Who are we to judge?
Yeah. Now, he thinks it's fantastic. Now, Dr. Zuck has launched a project to extract the DNA from the rotten tooth, which Lennon, who was shot dead in New York in 1980, gave his housekeeper in the 1970s. Apparently, this housekeeper put it up for sale or something like that over the years, and it's been passed around. I don't know exactly who sold it, but this guy bought this tooth for $30,000 just a couple years ago. Now, to potentially say I had a small part in bringing back one of rock's greatest stars would be mind-blowing, Dr. Zuck said. I am nervous and excited at the possibility we would be able to fully sequence John Lennon's DNA very soon, I hope. The dentist, who has also written a song in honor of the tooth,
has set
up and I'm sure it's just a gem of a hit, too. He set up a website for fans to track the progress of the project. Now, folks, I don't have the website here in front of me. I'm sure I could find it here real quick, but I wasn't going to waste my time because honestly, this is a bunch of baloney, I guess. I mean, this is really going on. There really is a Dr. Zuck. This guy really did buy this tooth for $30,000, and he is allegedly claiming to have interest in trying to clone the DNA that is potentially going to be extracted from this to potentially make his own John Lennon. Obviously, it's not going to happen.
This is just getting creepy, man. What are you going to do with him?
Exactly. It's the estate has all been sold off. I mean, there's I think maybe one, maybe two remaining living Beatles left. What's the plan here in 2050 to bring back a Beatles reunion tour by cloning them all? I don't know. This is certainly interesting. This is definitely falls in the category of, WTF news, I guess. This guy, I don't think quite has his head screwed on straight. My first indication, you bought a tooth for 30 G's, dude. It's not, let it go.
Now, I'll just throw this out there. While I was listening to this, actually immediately when I realized that the cloning of the beetle was a name of a group and not an actual beetle, cloning a beetle that was long since perished in the many species that have died in the millennia that precedes the current time. I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. And I wonder what kind of beetle it's going to be. And then, you start with the story. I go, oh, God, this isn't the beetle I thought it. This is not the beetles you're looking for. So anyway, it kind of came to me. The Beatles got in a bit of trouble, and I believe it may have had something to do with John Lennon's death. Whenever, and I believe he was the one that said it. He actually said, "We're more popular than Jesus."
Oh my!
Yes. So now, how interesting would it be if John Lennon rose from the dead?
Yes, he's been resurrected, as it were.
Yes. So I would say that this is never going to happen. Simply
if the
because
church has anything to say about it, yeah.
No, just simply because I just can't see, guy going, nah, that ain't gonna happen. Anybody else may have a chance, but somebody that says we're more popular than Jesus, I don't think so.
Now, folks, I did report a story a number of shows back where they're starting to, and this isn't exactly cloning, but they're sort of manufacturing replacement parts for people.
Yep.
I did a story once on a bionic ear that they're making, and this was using a 3D printer technology, which we've brought up many times. Tony and I are both fans of a 3D printing technology, but using that same sort of premise and using DNA code and I'm sure stem cell research is in there somewhere, but they're essentially printing human parts. In this case, it was just an ear. Now, this ear had impregnated some sort of a radio frequency receiver in it. It was able to pick up certain frequencies and whatnot. But for all intents and purposes, it's a bionic ear. But it was made with real human matter, I guess. I'm not going to say flesh because it was printed and then sort of grown.
Well, I think they use a scaffolding and just really anything that the cells could adhere to, but they do use actual human cells because they can harvest them and then grow a batch of them and they squirt it on the scaffolding and then they live and grow. So that's my understanding of it.
Well, and I remember seeing a number of years back of scientists growing an ear on the back of a mouse or something along those lines, and it was very creepy, very weird and odd.
It was really cool, yeah.
They needed the circulatory system of the donor rat rodent to keep this thing alive, I guess, but they did it nonetheless. And so, I mean, the technology is there. I mean, geez, they did successfully clone a sheep, and they did that, a decade ago,
mm-hmm.
I think. So the technology is definitely there. I would say that it would be possible to clone a human, and I don't know how much DNA they really need in order to do that. And I don't know if a 40-year-old tooth really has any viable DNA left in it, certainly to facilitate this kind of a project. But it's interesting nonetheless. I mean, it certainly, gets your eyebrow raised to, well, how much do you really need? And is it possible? And what sort of contribution to society would a second generation John Lennon bring?
Well, I suspect that there are cloned humans. I don't know. They may not have lasted very long, but I believe that like in probably North Korea or someplace where there's technology, but not necessarily, they don't necessarily go along with the world views. They're behind the curtain, so to speak. That this probably has happened. They probably don't have any cloned humans that have reached really any significant age at all. If you remember, the cloned sheeps had quite a few genetic issues, so they were able to do it, but they were very expensive sheep, and they had a lot of illnesses, problems that it just didn't work out really well. Now, And supposedly, and then, who knows if they're telling us the truth or not, but supposedly the human embryo or cell structure is more difficult to work with than some of the animal stuff.
I mean, I would just assume so, at least.
Well, I think that may kind of go towards the how can we're at the center of the universe. We're very complex, and
Yes.
it may just be feeding into the thing where it's like, oh yeah, no, we can't do cloning. It's much too difficult for humans because humans are much too complex. Well, if you can do testing on a rat, drug testing on a rat to help produce drugs for human trials, well,
Yeah.
exactly how complex are we?
Right. Well, when you mentioned the issues with the sheep, that reminded me of a story that I don't know if I told here, if it's just something that I read in my research and whatnot. But there was a car salesman here in the States. I can't remember exactly where, but he had a big Brahma bull. And for those of you who don't know, the Brahma bulls are these, like 10-foot tall, huge. They got a big sort of neck sack and stuff. Just a massive creature. And generally they're fairly docile. And they certainly are a little bit lethargic. You're not going to see one of these things stampeding down the road anytime soon. But there are several car salesmen, including one here in my area, that has used Brahma bulls in their car commercials just because of their size and stature, and they're instantly recognizable. Now, this Brahma bull had become such a local celebrity, and this guy's car lot had been fairly successful, that when this bull passed away, died, otherwise ceased to exist, he ended up spending his life's fortune to have this bull cloned. And for, just at an eyes glance, this bull was essentially a exact replica. Well, the thing is this thing was extremely mean. It was
I
very
remember this. Yes.
And very, very aggressive. And so much to the point, I think the guy even got like mauled during a commercial or something like that. I don't know, but they ended up having to put the thing down. So, I mean, it was, a sad story, everything considered. But nonetheless, I mean, you're right. You start getting into cloning complex things like an animal even, let alone a human, you're going to run into some apparent issues, at least behaviorally wise.
Well, you just never know what you're going to do, what you're going to be dealing with once you try something that's new. It's kind of like us and the using the YouTube live events. We certainly found tonight that everything looked like it was fine, and then it mauled me. But so you never can tell. There's I lost what I was the way I was going to go on that one, but. Yeah, you don't know. I will mention this real quick, very briefly. I don't want to get off on a whole subject, but
Right.
I went to Church of Christ whenever I was young, growing up, and I don't remember a big push about birth control, abortion. Maybe it was just the time that those things just really weren't at the forefront, and it wasn't a big issue. But as I grew up and I was watching watching shows, movies, and they made reference to the Catholic religion and how you couldn't use contraceptive because it was immoral, against God's law, and then it started making sense to me why Catholics had so many kids. I was like, well, when I started hearing about cloning and how every cell in your body has the potential to grow another human being, another you, I thought to myself, wow, if that's true and the Catholics are interpreting the Bible, or there's an actual verse or series of verses that basically support their view on contraception, then we potentially could be committing a sin whenever we have appendicitis and the appendix is removed, because those cells could generate 30,000 of yous. And I mean, science complicates religion as far as how things are interpreted. And I think a lot of that has to do with the time and the way the Bible was written. I think it was probably written for a group of people that were not very sophisticated scientifically, and then when we get to 2,000 years later, we know a lot more about things, and then we start asking questions like, well, how could that be? If this is the case, then this must mean, if this was wrong to do, then just your basic fluffing off of skin cells potentially could be wrong. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that they've been mapping the human genome for quite some time, and trying to figure out ways to sort of end aging and combat the ways that our organs and stuff break down, and this has been ongoing for some time, trying to basically find the fountain of youth, as it were. And I don't know that human cloning is eventually going to bring us immortality. I mean, I already know that there's been discussions lately just in the advances of memory technology and data storage technology, being able to sort of download one's personality. I know this sounds like so much science fiction novel type stuff, but folks, there's people that are working on this kind of stuff, and I'm sure there are some very handsome grants that are floating around, paying people to do this sort of research. But being able to essentially download all of your thoughts, your memories, your personality, whatever, onto a hard drive, for that matter, and upload it into a clone of yourself that is younger, less broken down, etc., is, for all intents and purposes, a possibility. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to happen in our lifetime, but the technology and the research is certainly leaning that direction. I mean, there's people working on it, so it could happen. Now, is it ethical? Boy, that's a fine line. That is definitely a slippery slope that I'm not going to really attempt to go down.
Well, there are people that have lost their lives recently, because they had ethical problems with being healed by doctors. Their feeling was that if they were meant to survive, God would take care of them, and they would not perish. And of course, this is how Kermit died.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Mickey G again, and I feel kind of bad about that uber gay comment. I didn't mean to offend anybody. So let me give a brief disclaimer. The views and opinions of Nikki G are not necessarily the views and opinions of Tony and Josh or Nikki G, but they should be, damn it. All right, thanks, bye.
Yeah, well, thank you, Nikki G. We appreciate all the calls and the disclaimer and the apology.
Yes, no, that's probably needed and long overdue.
Well, his wife thinks that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Everybody's wife thinks that. Oh, wow. So, I think I mentioned on the pre-show that I didn't get a chance to do anything, at least before the show, to collect any stories. So we're going to throw it back to you, Josh. What's your what else you got?
Well, I've got this story, very, very interesting story, Tony. Let me ask you a quick question here. How far would you go to save $100 bill? Now,
well, I would probably sift through my dog's poop, and it would be very embarrassing once I realized that it wasn't the dog that ate it. Yes,
especially if the dog had not eaten it. That's exactly what this Helena, Montana man had done. If you'd go so far as to do that for $100 bill, well, that's exactly what this guy did to save 5 $100 bills.
Oh, now we're talking big money, man.
Yeah, exactly. Now this guy's 12-year-old dog, Sundance, downed all but half of one of the bills back in December while on a road trip to visit he and his wife's daughter in Colorado. Now, Sundance, the dog, snacked on the cash in the family vehicle while Kinkle and his wife ate at this restaurant. Now, for weeks, Wayne Kinkle painstakingly gathered the bits and pieces of the bills by carefully picking through the dog's droppings as they were, left on walks and outings in the backyard. He then reassembled the various parts of the 5 $100 bills eaten by his golden retriever. His daughter also continued to recover more as the snow melted at her Colorado home, because the dog had obviously left little packages in the backyard. Now, the pieces were all cleaned. I guess, you could only clean it so much, and then reassembled and put into plastic bags. He then sent them to the U.S. Treasury back in April, along with an explanation. Now, oh my God, if I could get my hands on that letter, holy cow, to whom it may concern. I know this is probably going to look kind of odd, and, well, I'm sure it's going to smell even worse, but my dog ate my homework. I mean, my money. Here, could you help me out? I can only imagine what was said in that letter. But he apparently received a letter back from the U.S. Treasury just earlier this week. Obviously, the wheels turn a little bit slow over there at the U.S. Treasury. Well, enclosed was a $500 check reimbursing him for the mutt-elated currency.
I can see an SNL skit in this.
Easily.
I can see at the end where he's actually penning the letter, and as he's thinking about how to word the letter, he takes a break and takes a bite out of his Baby Ruth candy bar, and sits it down and continues writing.
Baby Ruth candy bar, yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry about that joke. I'll apologize profusely.
Hey, I thought I should owe an apology for that muddle-lated comment there.
Well, for $500, but the thing that gets me is, why in the world would you leave $500 in a vehicle whenever you go in to eat? I guess some people don't have. I guess some people have enough money where they don't have to worry about it. But then again, why would you go through that much trouble if $500 wasn't that big a deal to you?
Well, and also, what was on the money that the dog was so interested in? I mean, why the money that was left in plain sight, or at least easily accessible for the dog to get to it, and not the headrest or the seat cushion or the seat belt or the airbag? I mean, I don't know. You'd figure that the steering wheel would have more fast food remnants and oils and grease and stuff on it than a stack of money would. I don't know. I mean, this is definitely an interesting story, and I mean, you can't make this kind of stuff up. I mean, I can just imagine seeing this guy picking through the snow in a dog pile. Hey, I think I found a piece of a corner of a bill or something,
Well, I'm just thinking, thank God, even after 12 years, the dog never took their owner's advice and learned how to thoroughly chew their food. It's just a gulp, gulp, gulp.
Well, and I'm sure that his wife was just thrilled when he broke out her famous, her favorite pasta strainer and said, "Honey, trust me, it's for a good cause."
Oh, that's like the joke where the girl goes to blow her nose and it's like a real nasty, wet sounding blow, and he goes, "Keep it." She says, right? "That's all right. That's your pasta strainer. So you do whatever you want to with it."
Exactly.
If I ever see it again, you're going to be straining more than the dog's poop.
Well, guys, I've got a couple stories here that would probably fall into the dumb criminal category. Now, Tony, you live in a fairly hot climate down there, and I don't see a whole lot of extreme heats up here. We have the occasional heat spell every now and again, but nothing probably like what you got. What's the highest temperature you've ever seen down in Texas?
I don't think it ever. We're close to the Gulf of Mexico, so it kind of puts a limiting factor on it. So maybe 105, but not anything. I mean, generally speaking, maybe 100, 101. Anything above that, we don't normally see.
Oh, okay. Well, we occasionally see triple digits here. The hottest I can remember, I think, is right about 103 to 105, somewhere right around in that neighborhood as well. But apparently, wherever these guys were, that was even hotter than that, at least temperature-wise, of course, obviously. At least it was in physical terms. Now, we all know, where we were the hottest, we were visiting that one place or on a vacation or something like that. But we've never gone to really these kind of extents to cool off. I've gone so far as to put the fan and get the garden hose, whatever. Done some very interesting MacGyver-like things to get myself cooled off, but nothing to the extent that these guys went to. Now, hopefully you haven't gone so far as to get yourself arrested. That's exactly what these guys did in Germany. Now, we've all heard stories of, the people over in Germany and Florida and sort of what kind of odd things they do. Well, these guys on a hot day decided to make their own pool. Not too bad, right? They did it in their car, in a BMW nonetheless. Now, according to reports, a policeman noticed a very strange convertible driving down the road. Upon closer viewing, it appeared that the bathing suit-clad men were splashing around in this car. Thinking, well, that's not right. You don't normally splash in a car. Well, the car was filled with water. Now, these guys were obviously clearly intoxicated. They were weaving down the road. The water was sloshing to and fro and coming up over the edges of this convertible. Now, there was no law, and there's to date, at least nothing in the laws against driving around with a pool in someone's car. They were, however, charged with various other offenses, including driving without a license, and I guess they were supposed to have a permit for driving around a non-vehicle. I guess that once you convert the vehicle into a pool, it becomes a non-motor vehicle, and these guys were charged with that as well. I've got some more dumb criminal stories here, Tony. Do we have a couple moments?
Yeah, we do. Let's get this Nikki G voicemail in, and we can continue.
All right.
Atomic bomb over North Carolina. Boy, that explains a lot. Well, FYI, I still have my agricultural license. I grew up on a dairy farm in Ohio. So in the state of Ohio, it's legal for Nikki G to buy dynamite. That'll help you sleep better at night. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Oh, that's one of those hit and run voicemails.
Yeah.
Let me scare the hell out of you, and then I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Toodles.
Oh, tinfoil hat bearing Tony G carrying dynamite. Now I'm not going to sleep for a week.
So
well, here,
let's hear that other dumb criminal story.
Okay, so now you know that clowns are one of the top 10 most common phobias, right? I mean, we all have fears of bugs. In fact, I was just kind of joking with Tony here, sort of off the air here in our little chat we got. I had a monster spider in my studio, and I actually here during one of the last voicemails, I had to stand up and squash this spider because I'm not afraid of spiders. I don't have arachnophobia. But I have my own fears. Everybody has, afraid of heights. What is that? Agoraphobia, where you're afraid of the great outdoors or something like that.
That's
afraid of being wide open spaces.
Angora sweaters. Fear of Angora sweaters.
Oh, that's what it is. Claustrophobia, afraid of being in tight spaces. Now, I don't know exactly what phobia clinical term is for being afraid of clowns. But I've got a great clown story here that this might just make you laugh. Now, even cops run into problems with clowns. Oddly enough, a man was driving down the road in Pennsylvania when he witnessed what appeared to be a policeman beating up a clown. Now, that mental image right there. You can think of the cop, wearing a man in blue, and he's just with the nightstick, and he's just going to town on this clown on the corner of the street or something like that. Well, apparently the guy took a video of the whole thing
with the nose honk honk every time he got hit.
Right. Now, according to the story, or according to the report, the story behind this was that the clown had been spotted squirting every passing car with a water gun. Well, and of course, the police were called because we can't have something so horrendous happening on our city streets, right? So he obviously needed to be taken care of. So the cop showed up, and I guess the cop didn't escape being squirted as well, as the clown tilted his shoulder and the cop got a face of water from the little lapel flower. I guess that was enough considered assault, and the cop was the clown, however, was promptly taken down via nightstick and taser and all that as well. I guess they took him back to the circus. He was an escaped clown. They had to put him back in the car or something like that. No, folks, the video is up on YouTube. Just Google search cop beating clown, and I'm sure you'll actually probably get a few funny videos. But yes, no, this did happen.
Wow. I don't know. That's, cops lose it from time to time. And I think that would be under the heading of losing it. Do you remember seeing the Tom Cruise thing where the guy had a microphone and Tom Cruise was working the audience? It was an outside event, and this guy was like he had a microphone, like he was actually there to do interviews and stuff, and Tom Cruise was being very star-ish and talking to the guy, but the microphone was actually a water gun.
Oh, Oh yeah, I had heard about that.
He squirted Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is like, you don't expect that. So like, rain. And so the guy squirted him again. And Tom Cruise gets this very maverick look on his face and says, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that?" It's funny, Tom. That's why.
Well, I don't understand why, Mr. Policeman would beat the living S out of Giggles the Clown just for squirting some water.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like a respect issue. You don't respect me. You don't respect this. You don't respect this club.
Well, we definitely respect it if you guys would leave us a voicemail like Nikki G did for us there. We'd go ahead and have you guys call that 24/7 voicemail line and give that 24/7 voicemail line a call at 206-600-6882. And be sure to head over to TonyandJosh.com.
Yep, TonyandJosh.com. We actually have the YouTube live events now up on there, so that if you want to watch our show 10 p.m., every Thursday night, you can go over to TonyandJosh.com and check the link so that you can come over here and join us. Actually, you can go and listen to past shows. The show's available on iTunes, everywhere the better podcasts are sold, except it's not sold. It's free, so don't panic. You're not being charged. And
make sure you give us a 5-star review on iTunes when you're finding us over there. And, of course, you can find all the links and all the important information for the Tony and Josh Show over at TonyandJosh.com.
Yep. So if you would, join us next week. And don't forget the videos that you may not be seeing on the YouTube live events are available on our YouTube channel. Just, again, check TonyandJosh.com for more information. So you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday. Yeah, when I mentioned that thing about the dog, I did not know that the story was going to be about a dog eating the money.
Me.
No, I didn't.
I was like, he's just shitting all over my story right now.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. And then, I made my little comment. Then I saw the thing. I actually looked at the second line of the story and saw where it said 12-year-old dog. I went, oh, wow, okay. I guess that's a kind of a common thing. The dog eats it.
Yeah, I guess so. No, it was went through pretty well, I guess. So no, man, I had this big spider sitting here right above my head on the ceiling here in the studio, and so I shot a quick text to my girl and said, here, really quietly and quickly, could you bring me some tissue? I need to kill a monster spider in here. So when the door opened up behind me, you see that the strip of light here behind me. That was her, and I just sort of reached my hand back behind me and grab some tissue real quick. And yeah, I had to stand up there and take care of that spider, because the last thing I need is a spider dropping down on me while we're in the middle of an episode.
I don't know what you're thinking, man. That's great video.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been great for the show.
Flailing around and stuff. It would have been get the spider off my neck.
I mean, what the hell's wrong with you? Think about the YouTube hits we would have gotten, the notoriety we probably would have got on NBC News. And oh yeah, I sent out a tweet today. I said, wait a minute, I don't understand something. If the government shut down, why is MSNBC still on the air?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, obviously it was funnier. I thought it was funnier than it actually was. NPR would be in that same group, for mouthpieces for the Democrat government.
Oh yeah. No, I was trying to stay away from government shutdown jokes, because I know that you and I probably go a full hour on it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, geez, I know if I end up, throwing that line out there, that we're going to end up going down a rabbit trail for a half hour or more, just talking about it. But
and actually, I was serious about. I'm almost certain it was John Lennon that made that statement about the Beatles being more popular than Jesus.
It sounds right. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it sounds like that's entirely plausible. So yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that.
And I do believe there was a tie-in from him making that statement and his assassination. The guy was crazy. So I'm not saying that it was a rational a rational thing, but I do believe, the guy was a big fan apparently of the Beatles and John Lennon, and I guess, obviously a hearty handshake and a pat on the back and a thank you for the wonderful songs isn't enough. You need to kill the person to be bonded to them, to be part of the, I don't know. But yeah, anyway. So I don't know. The video seemed to have held up. I don't know why we're getting the stream status of bad, but I guess we will see as. I really need to be looking at the comments. We do have a comment that said, could you put the link to the photo in the chat, which I'm sure they're talking about the Bigfoot stuff. Yeah.
Oh, here, I just put that in the show notes.
I started to drag the box that I used to show your image. I started to drag that box over to the picker, but the picture wouldn't have been very, very big. I wish the software that I used was a little easier to queue things up. It's if I was sitting here not doing anything but working the video, I probably could make it happen. It wouldn't be clean. You would see things that you don't in production wise you wouldn't want people to see, but
right.
I would have the time to actually move things around, queue up videos and so on and so forth. But the software is too basic, and I have looked for some decent video software where I could queue things up ahead of time and press a button and keep talking. I mean, I can talk and press a button. That's not that big a deal.
I would imagine there's got to be, a USB controlled sort of video fader sort of thing to where you could, fade from one video to one picture to another, a video mixer, I guess is what I'm looking for here.
Well, I'm sure there is, but the problem is like I got the video stream from you, which is on the computer. And if I had an external thing, then how do you get the video feed from the screens, that I've got your picture on to the video fader, and I'm playing a video that's coming from the computer. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like it needs to be a piece of software, because all my video sources, with the exception of the camera that's used to capture me, is all on the computer, and technically the camera is USB going to the computer.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is it would be a software and hardware combination to where you've got this little device sitting over here on the table, and it's it's controlled and powered via USB, and you've got multiple queue windows. So it's like video A and video B, and you fade down one to fade in the other or something like that. I don't know. I'm envisioning it working a lot like audio mixing mixers do, but with video or images rather.
It amazes me how difficult video is. I mean, as far as how much time and effort it takes. It's even that way in editing video. You can edit audio and have some pretty nice stuff without a lot of effort. The video stuff, it's just so much time and clipping here, and I don't know. I guess it just has to do with the amount of data that's being thrown at you. Maybe it has to do with what we're used to seeing. These people that that get practiced on editing video and how much time that this should take, and they cut it and blend, and maybe that's the reason. I guess you see YouTube videos all the time where people hold their smartphone the wrong way and take a video that lasts 30 seconds, and there's no editing. So it's kind of like making a like making an audio a bad audio recording. So I don't know. I guess it's just all how what we think is important, how things should look. I also had somebody messing with me on Twitter. A friend of mine that we used to watch the Allison Rosen Ustream show way back when she was doing that, before she went all Hollywood or Los Angeles. This is shish on us. Anyway, he was messing with me, telling me about am I the Allison Rosen of Jeeps? What do you think you are, the Allison Rosen of Jeeps? Being on this doing this show and stuff. And I've very cleverly said, no, I consider myself to be more the Jeep of the Ellison Rosens.
Jeez.
Comedy gold, Josh. Comedy gold.
I was going to say, what was the reply to that?
I don't know. I wasn't reading it that that carefully. You were talking most of the time, but I had to throw some stuff in there too, just to appear awake. Yeah, my wife got involved too.
Oh, on the on that Twitter.
Yeah.
Or that tweet.
Yeah. It was really funny. I was telling her about Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and she says, no, I don't want to do any of that. That's just weird. I don't want to be talking to these people I don't know. And now she's on it all the time. I got her set up. I actually created her accounts for her and got her set up on there, and she's got all these people she speaks with, and they have a wine party I think there's a weekly wine party where I don't know if there's some show or something, and they get on there on Twitter and start talking about stuff. It's a really cool, interesting world we live in, with this ability to talk to people around the world. Oh, and I saw a brief news story today where one of the creators of Twitter sent the new president of Iran a tweet asking him when his people in Iran would have the ability to have open Twitter. In other words, where they could tweet.
Good question.
Yeah, to him and others. And the president of Iran said that he hopes to. That's one of his goals to accomplish, and he wants his people to have that freedom.
Very good. I wonder if it's just so much smoke being blown around, or if that carries any weight.
Well, the thing they're talking about is we do not want the nuclear technology to build bombs. It's only for generating power.
Right.
So, how much crap, personally, they want a way of having nuclear materials so they can build a bomb and wipe Israel off the face of the earth. So,
yeah. Only
problem is it's going to be number one, the Israelis are never going to be wiped off the face of the earth, and the second thing was, even if Iran tried, they would quickly be wiped themselves off the earth, because the Israelis would wipe them off, which is much more likely to happen than the first thing.
Sorry, I wrote this text script here thing for our show refresh, and I'm trying to get this to come into the show notes, without looking all weird. All right, here I'm just see if I change that to that. There, that will probably. So down at the bottom of the show notes, I've got something. Dang it! Something that I just whipped up really quick.
And I'll just mention real quick while you're doing that I ordered a couple of more voiceovers today. One that says you're listening to the Tony and Josh show, and now here's Tony. And then a second one that says same thing, but it says now here's Josh. So we can, have that for the various openings.
Okay.
Oh, and it's the guy is used to work for the BBC, and he's retired, I believe. And he has a very distinct Scottish accent.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, I like the Scottish accent.
Okay, I don't know if you see that.
Yes, I do.
But again, it's just I expect there to be a fair amount of editing and all that stuff. But again, I just trying to hit talking points and sort of natural flow. And I don't know if this is too much.
Well, what I see here is you hitting all the topics. How do they put it? The call to action. I think for at least what I had in mind for the refresh script is, who we are and what are we doing. So, hey, I'm Tony, this is Josh, and this is a show about, this is what we do here. This is what you should expect. And we probably ought to get in the habit of, and I know that this can be a problem at times, like tonight, whenever I didn't have any stories prepared. I had some stuff in mind. I just didn't have time with the technical issues. I mean, I should have started earlier, frankly, but, we should get in the habit of going through the stories, and I don't know that we necessarily have to do it in the order, go through them in the order that we are saying them. And in fact, there's probably some benefit to, putting the most interesting story at the top, but not actually hitting it till the end. That old game.
Right.
So that would leave us the leeway of not having to be so rigid in our preparation as far as, okay, well, we're going to say the stories and this is the order we must do them because this is the way we said them. So really, I'm just thinking, the refresh simply is who we are and what are we doing here? What is this show about? What should you expect from the show? And then this show, this is what you should expect, because these are the stories we're going to talk about.
Okay.
And then at the end of the broadcast, we do a wrap up, like the voicemail, the website. I don't know. I really haven't thought too much about that one, but just kind of a wrap up as far as don't forget about blah blah blah. Don't forget. We kind of do that now, but more of a standardized way of doing it, so that people. I don't want people necessarily getting bored, but when you're listening to some audio, you're generally not taking notes. So for people to actually remember it, that has to be repeated several times. So if you have it in about the same order every time, then the people are going to have an easier time remembering what you said or remembering that website. I mean, how hard is xjtalk.com? But,
right.
If, you get out of the car and you go into the house and you go, you do anything, first off, you go to the bathroom. And then if you're like me, that's all your brain juice. So you've forgotten everything that happened in the vehicle. So now it's like, oh, gee, and it's too much trouble to press rewind on the phone and listen to that. So I'll just wait till next time, then I'll go visit that site, whatever it was, or I'll just wait till next time and get that voicemail number and call in my witty comment, and then they forget about it. So I'm just trying to think of how we could have kind of an ending that's kind of the same all the time. But I thought about recording something where we just play it, but it from listening to another person's podcast, he reads it every time, so it's slightly different. Sometimes he screws up when he reads it or whenever he's just saying it, because it may be so, he does it so often that it may be that it's just second nature to him. But it's neat because, it wraps up the show. And I don't mind it, even though it's the same thing every time. And he has a network of shows, so he talks about that.
Okay.
But this also would be important on the XJ Talk show, maybe more important on the XJ Talk show, because of making sure that people know to go to the forum. the whole reason behind the podcast, which I think we forget about. I know I do. I mean, I'll mention it. Most of the time I think I mention it in the opening of the show, but you know, they're going to be listening or watching the show for an hour. The show's over. Your unlimited amount of fun doesn't have to end. You can now move over to xjtalk.com where we're trying to get you to go in the first place. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. Maybe right, maybe wrong.
So I'm just sort of again clamoring away here at the script, trying to figure out something that might fall a little bit more into what you're talking about.
I know I have a tendency to do this too, but we probably need to get away from it, which will be difficult because I think we're both self-deprecating. You have just in there, and we're just a couple of guys who you don't want to listen to because it's not anything that we really care about, and nor should you. And I don't want to oversell this. And we're... also, too, how do you feel about the, hey, this is Tony, and then, hey, this is Josh?
Man, it works.
Does it? Okay. I was afraid it might be.
It does.
I was afraid it might be getting old.
No, to me, it's the cadence of it, the way that it sounds is almost becoming a trademark.
Oh, good.
Every
once in a while, I'd like to go, you know, you would start and you would say, hey, this is Tony. And I'd say, hey, and this is Josh. Just, you know, every once in a while.
To throw him a curveball.
Yes. And just what was that? So anyway, okay, that's fine. As long as you don't think it's getting old, then we can stick with that.
No, I mean, just my comment the other night was that when I hear it back, it's like,
I know you don't like the delay.
Yeah, the timing in my cans is spot on, and I love it. But then I hear it in the podcast, and it's like, oh no, wait, it's not the way it's supposed to sound.
And for those, and for those of you that are still watching the post show here, cans is not the bathroom. That's what people call the headphones. So
yeah, sorry, getting radio terminology here.
I thought it was funny. Anyway, you know what? During the show, I'll get back to this other thing in a second. During the show, I refreshed the screen, the YouTube live event screen, and sure enough, I had to log in again, and it did update the viewer count. So I don't know, something strange is going on. It's probably my computer, probably not YouTube, but if there's a refresh setting to where it can refresh every 3 seconds, or it refreshes only once every once. I think they do a push out. I think they actually push out whenever anything needs to be updated. But the thing that gets me is that I'm not logged on. So if I'm not logged on, they're not going to be able to push to me. So I don't understand why it logs me out.
Yeah.
Or why it thinks I'm not logged in, even though I'm on a screen you can't get to without being logged in. So
is there a remember me checkbox thing, or
the screen never changes? So if you click the remember me, that would be good for, going to another screen or refreshing the screen, or, I mean, it knew who I was, but they've done some changes at Google where now when you log in, they've grouped your accounts together, and they say, okay, which one of these are you, or which one of these do you want to log in as? And I said, well, I want to log in as the one I logged in as, you asswipe. Yeah. So, and every so often I get the thing about, we see that you're Tony McElroy. Wouldn't you really rather, be Tony McElroy than xjtalk.com? And it's like, no, you ass munch mother.
If I did, I would change it.
I have it set up exactly the way I like it. And I don't know if you know it or not. I've heard that the reason why they're doing that is because of the comments that people make, like on YouTube and stuff. Because they can, I don't know, you don't do social media, so you may not be aware of this. People can be mean on social media.
No, that's not the interwebs I know. Come on.
They seem to have a problem with manners and basic human respect when it comes to being online.
I have to deal with it every day being president of NACSJ's Northwest chapter.
Oh, yeah, I can well imagine. I remember you've mentioned some negativisms in the past. Yeah. I just assumed that was all behind you. And remember, we're on the air.
We've sort of crested the wave, so I think the mass of it has sort of passed. We've gone through the tsunami. Now it's just sort of the washback. It's not gone away, because you still have people that are still who they are, and their personality isn't going to change, and the way they act is only curtailed so much by moderation and by
lack of alcohol,
or probably.
So do you think any of that had to do with you becoming the president, and then people? I'm sure,
because I'm sort of the new kid on the block when it came to NACSJ. At the time, I'd only been around for a year or two, and these guys had, the ones that are causing the most problems had been around for several years more than I had. And so, they look at it like, well, who the hell are you, and why should you represent the entire, Northwest chapter? Why should I give you even, 2 shakes? And, I think a lot of that is where it's not jealousy. It's just sort of, I don't know you, so why should I care? Sort of thing.
I know you're not there to run anybody off, and I'm not suggesting you say this, but if it bothers somebody that much, why don't they just go the hell away?
Oh, no, believe me, I didn't have to say it. There are many other people that said those exact same words, and more than once. So it's like,
a 1 year thing, right?
Well, yeah, my term is 1 year. I will be running again. And I would assume, at least at this point, it looks like I will probably be going unopposed. So yeah, I don't know.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, you go away. You can go find something else to do for a year.
Absolutely. But they look at it like, well, I was here first, so why should I go?
They weren't elected. Exactly.
And they've been in trouble so much they can't be elected. They can't run. So.
See, that's just. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to make you whine and cry and resign.
I don't know. Trying to set me up to fail or something. I don't know. I mean, my nose is clean. I haven't crossed any borders or crossed any lines rather. I probably followed things a little bit too much by the book in the beginning, which is
that's understandable.
Matters, but
yeah, I mean, it's understandable. New guy, and certainly if you start getting blowjobs in the Oval Office, people are going to frown on that.
Hey, where I put my cigar is my business.
I never got so nervous as to when Bill Clinton wanted to shake my hand and he asked me to hold his cigar. All right. Well, I'm sorry. We got on that tangent.
It's all good.
And by the way, I take offense at the ADD comment you always make. I don't have ADD. That's a fake illness if I ever seen one. So anyway, yeah, the Tony and Josh thing, and this show, and this show is about, and how can we put it? Something more boom, like,
yeah, to have something that is verbatim, something that we can, ramble off every show is, maybe something that's going to be a work in progress for it to work right and sound natural. Because we definitely don't want it to sound like we're reading it. we want it to sound like it should,
Mm-hmm. I don't like it, but it's kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
This show is about stories we find interesting, and hopefully you will too. It's about our opinions. We'd love to hear we would love to hear your opinions as well, and that's why we have a voicemail, and occasionally we have the dial-in line set up, which and that's how they come into play.
Are we going to get into the habit of within the first X number of seconds mentioning the show number?
Oh, yeah. Probably just a welcome. This is welcome. Kind of wonder if we should should say the date as well. Because since whenever you're watching any live events, listening to a live event or watching a live event, you know when the show is. It's now. But whenever it's a recorded thing, and you're not sure which one you queued up, did you queue them up in order, or did I get one out of order? Or I guess it really just depends. I like listening to the shows in order. I don't like listening to shows out of order, even though they're standalones. I mean, whatever podcast I'm listening to, I like doing it in order.
Well, so, like the Audacity to podcast, I can listen to that one out of order and be fine with it. There are other podcasts that need to be in order, and then but a lot of them, again, it's there's one, I forgot where I heard this from, but one of the piece of advice, I got about podcasting is to have your information not be dated. And not be time specific, to where it's timeless, to where whether you're playing it, in 2003 or 2013, in any case, it could be just as relevant to whoever's listening to it anyways.
Although I think ongoing stories are fine that aren't necessarily related to they happen at a specific time. Like, I'm thinking of more like the Jeep stuff, like whenever I have a brake problem or a wheel bearing assembly goes out. It happened at a specific time, and that time has come and gone. But as far as listening to it, it doesn't have any relevance at the date and time that it happened, because that can happen. Your wheel bearing assembly can go out at any time. So, on the crazy stories that we come up with, or I guess even the scientific stories could be viewed that way, partially. I mean, Stephen Hawking's publishes Grand Unified Field Theory. Okay, that is going to be a definite period of time that everybody's going to know when that happened, and that it's in the past, and could be in the far past. But they could also relive it as far as, I remember when that happened. I remember where I was, blah, 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 blah. But I agree with you. A general formula, not necessarily a script, an outline.
Yeah, because I know a script is going to be too cookie cutter, especially over the course of many episodes. So if it is more of an outline, which we follow, but it's sort of, there's some creative license with it. That I guess that's sort of the recipe I'm looking for too.
So,
And,
did we talk about ourselves first, then the show, or the show, what the show is, then ourselves? I'm thinking ourselves, then the show, because we don't have that in here right now. Who am I?
Yeah, maybe that's something that we don't. I mean, does it matter who we are?
I think people, to get people to buy into your show, they have to get to know you. They have to form a relationship with you, and if they don't know who you are, then it just makes it more difficult for them to form that relationship.
Well,
hi, my name's Tony. I like long walks on the beach.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if we should stay away from a bio at the beginning of each show, and just sort of, we're a couple of podcasters.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Hey, this is Tony, and here's a little bit about me. Or, hey, I'm Tony. Just to let you know, I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm just like you. I work with computers. I love shooting guns. I'm conservative by nature, and we're going to try to stay away from politics because I've been warned. Just kind of give people an idea of who we are. Something very brief, and funny's good. Funny makes it interesting, and also too, I think helps people buy into that. Okay, well, I'll give these guys a chance, give this guy a chance, and listen here for a few more minutes, and then get them to buy in. So, I mean, if I really don't have a problem with the funny thing about hey, I'm Tony. You know me as a podcaster, but I also work for the CIA. Damn, anything along those lines.
Well, I'm trying to think of some of the more successful radio shows that I've heard over the years. Some of the successful podcasts and stuff I've heard, and how their openings go, how their intros sort of play out, and
I guess they don't do that. I guess that they only do they just talk about the show and then get into it.
Well, and there was one exception, and there was a trio that was huge down in California, and they ended up going on into the internet and started podcasting right about the same time that Adam Carolla did. It was Frosty, Heidi, and Frank, and they were probably one of the largest syndicated morning shows in radio, as far as how many markets they reached out to. And it was a mid-morning show, so it wasn't morning. It wasn't a morning commute show. It was so they came on at 9 or 10.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And then it was like a 3-hour show or something like that. I mean, it was wildly successful until the radio station, their home station, changed format, and they got booted to AM. It was them, Tom Likas, and Adam Carolla, and all three. I mean, these are powerhouses when it comes to radio programming. And I mean, that was the dynamic trio right there. It was as far as shows go, and all three of them got booted. I mean, these were shows that were nationally syndicated, were broadcast around the world on the web, had hundreds of thousands of people who were diehard fans, brought in multiple millions of dollars in advertising to the radio station for each program. And the radio station changed format. And through one of probably the dumbest moves in radio history, they got rid of these three powerhouses in radio broadcasting. and they all went to the internet. Well, exception of Tom Likas. Tom Likas still is in the radio, but he's doing a wine review sort of show. It's a very, very short, half hour to an hour program, something like that. And he's a bit retired now. He's a little bit older than everybody else. Has been doing it for a lot longer. But nonetheless, Adam Carolla went to podcasting. Started the Ace Broadcasting Network. Is obviously doing very well for himself. Frosty, Heidi, and Frank went to AM radio, where they were for about a year. And AM radio obviously wasn't the right kind of fit for their kind of show, which was kind of a little bit of what we're doing here. They were a little bit more BSing. A lot of the program
Holy
directors,
crap, that's hard to believe.
A lot of the program directors were made them, you have 3 topics. You have to hit on at least 3 topics every day. Topic A, topic B, topic C. I can care less about everything else you do, but hit these 3 topics once a day. And so they would have, and then the rest of the time it was just total free form. There was probably some degree of show prep, but the rest of it was essentially just free form. It wasn't a good fit for AM radio. So then they went to podcasting and have been enormously successful ever since. They developed what's called the Toad Hop Network because they were out of 2 of the members were out of a little town called Toad Hop, Indiana. And ever since then, I mean, they have multiple podcasting shows underneath their belt. They're doing quite well for themselves, and they haven't turned back since. They do live events where they sell out these theaters and stuff like that. I mean, they're not stadium level shows, but they bring in several hundred people to these live events where they essentially just do what you and I are doing. They do it on a stage. They set up a couple tables. They've got a producer and they've got a few microphones, and they do a live show, in front of the fans at these, theaters or venues or, whatever. And people pay good money to see them, to be a part of them, to, meet them and be a part of this live broadcast, these shows and stuff like that. And Adam Carolla is doing the same thing. I mean, obviously he's doing some stand up as well, but he does, live appearances for these broadcasts, the Adam Carolla Show live. It's come to Portland, I think, at least once or twice a year for the last 5-6 years. So there's definitely a winning recipe that's out there that works. And the personal information comes with a connection to the people through the stories. And so it's you might have a show about sifting through your dog poop or through dog poop, but then you start talking about, well, this one time and so you start. I think that's one of the things that we're missing here. Now that I'm sort of breaking this down, I'm realizing that we haven't interjected a lot of ourselves into it as much as we potentially could. We don't share a lot of personal information. I never really do anyways, all that much.
Well, I was just going to say, I do. I do. I throw things in there, the things that I think about that just hit me while I'm listening to the story, or something that when I read it, or something that happened to me. And I don't remember you doing that as much.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't bring a lot of that personal information out. I've always been a little guarded. I don't know why, where it comes from. Trust issues. I don't freaking know. But anyways, maybe that's something that I need to work on, in injecting a little bit more personalness to stories or to the show or something like that, giving people a little more to attach to relate to, if nothing else.
Yeah. It would be kind of expensive, but I could fly up to Portland and give you a hug if you think it would help. See, you thought I was going to be serious there. I had you.
It's like, okay, I'm listening. Okay, I got you. Fine, expensive. What's he talking about? Oh,
and I do have some Nerf foam rubber gloves in case you're concerned.
Yeah.
No, seriously though, that's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. And now that you're saying that, I can see that I do that quite often. I mean, that's really where we get off the rails quite often, is because I start relating it to something that I said or I did, or some experience that I had.
Yeah, I maybe I need to be doing that a little bit more often.
You just talk about these people being successful BSing. Good Lord, could you imagine getting paid for BSing? I usually got in trouble for that. Get back to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, essentially but they're being paid for their chemistry. Is what it comes down to. They have poignant intellectual conversations about jack squat.
Yeah,
and oftentimes it's funny. I mean, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Is there's a comedic undertone to all of it, because everybody likes to laugh. Everybody likes humor. And of course, being able to listen to it is entertaining, because you can just sort of shut off part of your mind and just sit there and take it in and be entertained. It's like, it's like boob tube for your ears.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of, it's obviously worked in the past. I think it's a winning recipe now. And I think that we have the chemistry. We just need to massage it a little bit, tweak the content a little bit to work better.
Yeah, that's what we're searching for. We're searching for the right formula. I don't think that there's anything that needs to change between you and I and how we relate to one another. Back and forth.
So.
Yeah. So I think that works out very well. It's just it may just be an advertising thing too. We really don't have a format on this show like we've established on the other show. We have certain things that we have on each show or every other show, and this one doesn't really have that. So I don't know if it's if an hour of BS is a problem, or we need segments like I was hoping for tonight. I was hoping to get a technical thing that I could talk about that would be informative to people, but not so long that it would be like where they would glaze over because they don't understand. But maybe, because the thing I was thinking of was, how you're always getting emails or tweets that have links in them, and they're just kind of strange. It seems like the only reason for them being there is for you to click on the link. Well, here is one explanation as to why that might be. There has been a vulnerability in Microsoft Windows and Internet Explorer, and a specially crafted blah, 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 blah. And it have to be worded in such a way so that people wouldn't go, oh my God, what the hell? Does something like a tidbit of this is why you don't want to click on these links, and this is why you need to upgrade your browser.
Okay, I've got two ideas. One is we start a whole nother podcast, and we focus directly on technical, because you and I we have a funny side and we have a technical side. We have, I mean, when you're talking, when you're going through the troubleshooting of a problem and you're sort of working your way through an issue or something like that, same sort of thought process as you have at work. It's very technical. It's very straightforward. It's very focused. Whereas the sort of format, if you will, of the show is a little bit less than that. It probably should be a lot less than that. I don't know. The other idea is that we just have a tech segment.
That's what I was thinking. That's where I was going with that.
It's your tech tip of the week.
Yes.
We call it something like that. Tony's tech tip of the week. And it's 2.5, 5 minutes, whatever, of, hey, you ever happen to this, then this and that and the other thing, and this is how you do that, and good luck, and if you need anything, you want advice or further clarification, just email me at tony@tonyandjosh.com, something like that. And keep it short and sweet, because if somebody's tuning to a podcast for entertainment, a tech review or a tech topic might become very dry very quickly. Even if it's very pertinent and useful information, I could see it being perceived by the potential listener who's looking for entertainment as something they don't want to listen to.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it may be maybe what we should do. We had talked about a paranormal segment, which you certainly covered with the Bigfoot thing, but
Yes.
but an actual segment where we would play a little something 10 or 15 seconds in length, so that would clue people into, hey, this is the paranormal thing coming up. I love this part. Let me pay attention. Or we could just talk about it. I don't know. I have a tendency to like little things that you play,
No, I do too, because I mean, I love that. Okay. Segments are another winning recipe. It's a winning aspect to a successful recipe. Every one of those shows that I listed all have segments to them. Now, it's not the same segments every show in the same order.
Yeah, that might be difficult for us too.
This show these are the segments that they do, the bits, if you will. And they do this bit occasionally. They do this bit occasionally. And every now and again, they do this bit. One that comes to mind right off the top of my head is a contest that Frosty, Heidi, and Frank would do, where it was called "Who's Going to Hell," and it's each of the three they research a story, and it's the most horrific tale of holy cow, that person is definitely going to hell for what they just did type of story. And it's like, oh well, this mother took her bag of kittens away from her kid and drowned them because they were mewing too much or something like that, and this guy he fed his girlfriend arsenic for 13 years until she finally died or something like, I mean, just, it's sort of the most outlandish, horrific story you can find. And then sort of people would vote on it or something like that. And they would do a live call-in thing, and I vote for Frosty. Well, I vote for Heidi's story, and well, we got 3 votes for Frank's story, and well, I win this week, and that sort of thing. It was a bit, and I'm not doing a whole lot of justice in my description, but you get the idea,
right? There's
just
a lot we could do if we had an audience, especially with the call-in stuff.
Yeah, I know, I know, and it's one of the things I know that's sort of. We can't open the floodgates to a lot of things because we don't have the live participation.
I think it's fun to listen to too. I think it would be fun for the podcast when people are calling in and interacting. And I mean, I would think that would be an interesting thing on the podcast because you're just taking in the show whenever you want to, and then hey, that sounds like fun. I think I might make time to actually watch the live show this week and call in myself. I think it'd be fun to hear myself.
Well, listening to a couple of guys in your ear behind microphones, you have to search for those little gems that you can relate to every now and again. But you hear somebody who is a caller. Hey, they're just like me. Mm-hmm. They're just somebody else who's listening to these guys, and they're on the show right now. They are one of me. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing. It's an instant association. It's an instant relation when you have that live involvement with somebody else outside of the show. And I think that's why the XJ Talk Show has been so successful, is with the interviews and things like that. Well, not only that, but also the close-knit family that's behind it all. But with the interviews and stuff, because it's somebody from outside the show being a part of the show, so to speak. So I don't know. It's do you think it's a time slot thing? I mean, do you think that's maybe one of the biggest reasons why we don't have a larger live audience is because of our time slot?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it. Where's the population density? It's going to be East Coast, West Coast. And I think 10 p.m. Central Time is late for most people to commit to an hour show. I mean, I'll listen to your podcast because I can do that whenever I want to. But 10 p.m. Central Time, I don't know. Now, for the XJ Talk Show, I don't know that it's necessarily the only way. I don't know that it's necessarily we need to change that one. That one has a decent audience that I think is still building.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be that with the YouTube live events, it'll be less of an issue because people can. I mean, we certainly saw. I think we were up to 203 views on last week's video, which is more than what I've seen on the downloads in the past. At least in that time frame. I mean, we'll get 600 or 700 downloads on the podcast, but that's over a longer period of time. Anyway, as far as getting an audience that would call in and be more active, it certainly would be. It makes more sense that if you're on whenever they are not busy getting the kids to bed or they're getting to bed or whatever like that, then you're more likely for them to show up. So if we want to build an interactive audience on Thursdays or really any day, because it doesn't have to be on Thursday, it probably would be better to have the show on at a much earlier time. I think 7 would probably be too early. 7 Central would probably be too early, because that would be 8 p.m. On the East Coast, but it would be, what is 5. That? Like 5 your time, and you're not home.
Man, it'd be cutting it close. I mean, 5:30 I could probably pull off. The problem is that,
well, you never know.
That's just it. I get stuck on a project at work. I get held up in traffic, and it's just there's too many potential variables that are going to get in the way. If we didn't have to work, Tony. Oh, yeah, that whole job thing really gets in the way.
Yeah, well, it would be neat to be able to be on during the day, but I don't know how many people could actually be involved interactively, other than maybe being involved in a chat room, because that seems to be the thing that some of these folks that are doing podcasts for a living, they do it at 2:00 in the afternoon, and they have several people in their chat room, but they're probably at work. The people are probably at work listening or watching and chatting as they have time, because you can get away with doing the chatting more so than talking on the phone to somebody in QBville. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if we really want interactivity, we need to have it at a time, a realistic time. If we were doing this at 9 p.m. Central Time, that would be 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern, and 7 your time.
Yep.
So that would be from 7 to 10, which is, the 10 p.m. is a little late for East Coast.
Right.
But I think that's more doable than 11 to midnight.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is now. I mean, it's 12:38 here, so it's 1:38 there.
So let's see. I mean, I could definitely do it. Oftentimes, I'm finishing up dinner at 7:30 and coming in here. Occasionally I get a chance to get off work a little earlier, and I get home and able to get some dinner in time to where I've got an hour break after dinner between the show. It's luck of the draw. Now, that being said, I can eat after the show. I can grab, a few bites and then, tide me over, and then, I can finish it later. The only issue is the nights that I do have to stay late at work. I'll be putting dinner on the table right about 7:00. So, I mean, that means I got to be in here. If we start at 7, my time, mind you, that's 8:00 your time. Then
no, it'd be 9:00 my time, right? Because you're 2 hours behind me.
Yeah, it's 2 hours. Sorry, that's right. If we start at 7, that means I got to be in here at 6:30. And there's times where I don't get home until like 6, which means those nights it might have to just be Thursday night's a pizza night or something like that. Plain and simple.
Well, we talked about this before, and of course, neither one of us have talked about it because I don't think neither one of us wants to do it. But we could actually have a not a show, but where you and I get on Skype and work out the show the day before. So we meet, say, 9 p.m. your time, or no, I'm sorry, 8 p.m. your time, 10 p.m. my time, and we go over what the show is what's going to happen on the show tomorrow. So then we're prepared for the 9 p.m. Central Time show, and you just walk in, sit down. It's going to be fresh on your mind because we went through it the day before. So all you have to do is sit down and do it.
Well, I thought that was the whole premise behind the show notes, is so that we have a chance to see what the other one is talking about or going to be going over or something like that.
Well, when did you put your stuff on the show notes?
Today. I know.
And when did I do it?
You have.
I haven't.
I know. No.
So if we set down a time, and it may not fit your schedule, and I understand that. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying we have to do it this way. I'm just saying if we schedule a time and we know that on Wednesday at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. your time, we're going to sit down and we're going to have this type of discussion, and we're going to go over the show, and this is what we're going to do, and these are the stories, and now we're ready for tomorrow. So
that means that we have to have our Thursday show sort of in the can on paper by Wednesday afternoon.
Well, no, we literally could not do a damn thing until we got on the Skype and we're looking stuff up and we're talking back and forth about, and actually it would actually help make the stories kind of jive together. We could work towards, okay, hey, that's a paranormal thing. You know what? I heard about this deal. Let me find it. Oh, this will jive good with that story. And we can, make this. So it might actually, it's kind of like my dad's got a barn. Let's put on a show. It's actually planning. So, it's more show prep, which we're just throwing stuff on paper. The idea is that we were going to do this ahead of time and then look over each other's things, or maybe even use it for ideas. And we're not doing that. So if we set aside a time and we're lazy, we don't have to do anything until we come together and we sit down and we put it on paper and come up with a show.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't like it either because I'd rather be taking a nap.
Well, I don't really take naps much, but here's the thing is that, God, I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on your idea here. I don't know if it's going to work. Granted, I have a handful of places I go to for this stuff that I put in the show notes. I mean, it's, dumbcriminals.com, I think, is where I went for the last couple of stories in the show tonight. WTFnews.com or something like that. I search for stuff like that. And, one link might send me to another link, And so it's a very haphazard way of researching topics for the show. And I'm just pulling these stories out of the internet's ass, so to speak, to bring on here. Now, granted, I sift through some of them because oh, well, no, that's pretty stupid. No, that one kind of sounds gay. No, I'm not going to deal with this one. Oh, that one sounds like it'll probably work. I can probably, spice this one up a little bit. And that's sort of the whole process. And oftentimes I'm doing it on a second screen at work because I'm there and I've not necessarily have the downtime. It's sort of front of mind, and I can sift through things on this other screen here while I'm doing my job over here.
Yeah, something's rendering, or you got a few moments while you're doing something else. Yeah, I got it.
I'd be worried that if we sit down to do our show prep together ahead of time, that it's going to end up being a 2 or 3 hour commitment because there's a lot of back and forth. Now, would it be worth it in the long run? I don't know. And that's the only reason why I'm a little hesitant on jumping on board. is because what we're doing.
It's not a 20-year commitment. It's like we both want the show to be better. We both want the show to succeed. And, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. That's the only way I'm looking at it. And the things that you're talking about doing, you don't have to stop doing. You can still do the show prep prior, and actually that would limit the amount of time. And frankly, we could set it to be an hour. And at the end of that hour, it's like, hey, time's up. We'll finish this up tomorrow, or wing it during the show.
All right.
Like I said, this is the way I'm thinking. I mean, there's answers to these issues. And again, I want the show to be better, but realistically, is it worth it to me to put in the time that I need to do for it to be better?
Well, I'm lacking on that regard a bit, because I have said from the beginning that I want to make sure that we have a fair amount of production value in the show. We've talked about bits or segments and stuff like that. I think to date I've got one intro to, it was the paranormal thing that I just sort of threw together.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done the lion's share of production work for the show. And that's for sure. But the other thing is that we haven't really sat down and talked about potential segments. If we were to sort of, dedicate a theme to a segment, a block of time or whatever for the show, what we're going to do with it.
Right.
And maybe that's a conversation that we need to have.
Well, this show is kind of the redheaded stepchild. It hasn't had a lot of effort put into it. Now, like I said, I ordered a couple of voiceovers for it today, and I think we could do it. I mean, this show potentially has more appeal to a much wider audience than the other one does. The other one is just it's a formula that we have down, that it's fairly successful, and that's what I'm talking about on this one. Well, let me. I can see that you faded about an hour ago. So
yeah, I'm.
So let me let you. Do you want to forego the recording of the video promo this week?
Oh no, we can still bust that out real quick. Yeah, okay. I forgot all about that, man.
So I'm going to say goodnight to the Ustream audience that is still hanging in there with us this whole time.
Wow, guys, you guys are some troopers.
And there might be some stuff in the post show that you wouldn't see and you may not want to see, but thanks for sticking there. So we'll see you guys next week, and hopefully you'll be seeing some positive changes in the show here in a little bit. 2 hours and 14 minutes, Josh. That's how long. Yeah. That's how long we've been broadcasting on this one. This doesn't even include the time that we were on before. Okay, just stop that one. 2 hours, 14 minutes, 13 seconds. Wow. I knew we were really chatting it up there, but didn't realize.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate it when people send me stuff on Facebook telling me